Scripture reading is taken from the book of Matthew, 22nd chapter, 34th to the 40th verse. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, meaning Jesus, they were gathered together. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. And so is the scripture reading. St. Matthew's, the 22nd chapter, the 34th through the 40th verse. Again, I say unto you, good morning. As we dwell, or as we open our minds up to the scripture, what it is saying, the greatest commandment. Now, I just want to read this commandment, verse 37. Thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. That's all of you. Everything that is within you should be given to God. In other words, nothing comes before God in your life. Nothing or no one. Let me say that again. Nothing or no one should come before God in your life. Now, folks will say, well, what about my husband? What about my wife? What about my children? What about my job? What about this and that? Scripture says, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. Everything that you are, everything that you have, everything that you represent, God first. Now that's very difficult for a lot of people because I have come to realize and to understand that many people associate God with being something other than themselves. something that exists apart from them. And so, with the consciousness of thinking that God exists apart from them, that which is or appears to be the closest, the most physical and material, is what we honor first. It is where we place our hearts. It is where we place our minds. It is where we place our souls. But when we do that, we give very little meaning as to what life is and how it represents, how it is responsible for all that we are. And you think about that for just a moment. From whence came this life that you are experiencing? Where did it come from? Well, you might say my mother gave it to me, my father gave it to me. Who gave it to them? Well, the grand ancestors, and you can go on and go on and go back and back. From whence came this life? And the one source that is the only source that is responsible for the life is God. And so we must make God our number one priority. Nothing or no one comes before God. I've had some issues with that in the past. I don't want to go into detail. But there was a person many years ago that was upset with me because they couldn't be number one. I had to make it plain and simple. God is number one. I'm number two. And you must be number three. And I have also said in the past, God is number one, I'm number two, and everybody else fall in where they may. We cannot put anyone before God. It is the very life, the consciousness, and the spirit that maintains and sustains us. Now, I don't have a problem if you disagree, because it's not my problem. You see, it's not my problem. But when things don't go right in your life, when things start to fail, when the cloud of darkness have come over you, don't call out to God, because you have not made God your number one priority. Your number one priority has been all of those other things outside of God that they can't do you any good. When you're on your bed sick, weak, helpless, all the material things in the world won't do you any good. Only God can heal your mind, your body, your soul. All the money that you have acquired, whether it be in your pocketbooks, your bank books, or wherever you might have it hid under your mattress, when you're lying flat on your back and you have no strength and you need to have some assistance, you can't raise your hand to pick up the telephone to dial a number or use your cell phone. Well, try asking one of them dollar bills to do it for you and see what the response is. They'll just be there. There's only one source that can save your life. Only one source that can give you the strength. Only one source that can lift you up. God within you. You see, we have to understand that we can't do anything. We can't be anything without the Spirit of God operating in us and through us. It's just the truth of what it is. And for those of us, or those of you that are seeking the truth, a better understanding of life, what life is all about, turn within to the source. It's been right there all the time. But we run high and low seeking the source in the outer world. And the more we run and seek in the outer world, the further we move away from the truth of that which we are. And as I said, the first commandment, according to the scripture, love God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. And if the question arises in your mind, well, what about these other people that I have some feeling for, some affection? Well, learn to know and to understand that the God in you is also the God within them. And as that scripture states very plainly, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And your neighbor is anyone outside of you, your husband, your wife, your children, and even those that are in distant lands. Because what are you doing? You are loving the manifestation and the expression of God within them. There's no way that you can love yourself and not love your neighbor, not love your children, not love your husband and your wife, and get this, not love your enemies. Well, you say, well, I can't love my enemies because they're the ones that's trying to knock me down, keep me down, run all over me. But as spiritual beings, you must learn to look beyond the appearances and recognize that the Spirit of God indwells in everything. And when we can see beyond the appearances and recognize the very truth of that which is, we can become instrumental in bringing about a change in our so-called enemies. I'm a living witness to that. But you have to love with the love of God. And you have to know that there is no other love, no greater love than the love of God. Now, I admit that there's human love that can be so fickle at times, fickle. You know, one day you love them and the next day you hate them. What kind of love is that? Love doesn't change. It remains the same. As they say, come hell or high water, the love never diminishes. Do you think God has stopped loving us for all the things that we have done, all the things that we have gone through, for all the people that we have disliked, misused, and abused? God is not capable of withdrawing his love from his children or from his creation. If God was capable of withdrawing his love from his creation, there would be no world. There would be nothing. But how blessed that we are that God cannot withdraw, because God is love. God cannot withdraw himself from himself, because then there would be no existence to God. So if we are climbing the ladder of spiritual growth and unfoldment, each rung of the ladder represents love. That is what holds us up. That is what holds the world up. With all that we are experiencing that is going on, with all the conflict and confusion and destruction, still love is the most single potent thing that maintains and sustains life. So as we go forth upon this path of spiritual growth and unfoldment and continue the awakening within us, love is the key. Love is the answer. Love is the foundation on which we stand and the foundation on which we should build. There is no greater love than the love that one has for the source that is responsible for all that we are. I want to share something with you. You see, I have a saying, you shouldn't talk about other folks. Because when you talk about other folks, especially if it's not good, then you're opening up the doors for that to come back to yourself. Opening up the doors for those negative energies to come back to yourself. Long before I really had a deep understanding of what it meant to be my brother's keepers, I was on a job. In fact, I was working at the House of Representatives. And my foreman, who was basically church-going man, religious man, Him and I got into a conversation one morning, and I've always been one, I'm going to speak my truth or what I feel to be the truth. I'm going to speak it. And so we was talking, he said to me, and I was not really that seeped in Bible terminology. And he said to me, you are your brother's keepers. And I looked at him and I said, I'm not my brother's keeper. And he gave me this strange look, and I was, all this stuff that these folks done to me, and I'm supposed to turn the other cheek so they can keep on beating up on me and doing all these things. He said, no, you got to love your neighbors, your brothers, your sisters, even those that misuse and abuse you. You have to love them. Boy, was that a hard pill to swallow. You mean to tell me I got to love folks that done tried to walk all over me and did a whole manner of things to hurt me and abuse me, and I got to love them? He said you need to read the story of Jesus, Jesus' life, what they did to him. And when they strung him up on the cross, crucified him, his last words were, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That was a big turning point in my life. And I had to go back and forgive all of those who had misused, abused, mistreated me, misguided me, did all manner of things. In order to have some peace and to be free of all the negative energies that I was starting to build up in myself. You know, when we dislike people, we create a negative energy within us, and what does it do? It affects us first before it goes out to the person that it's being directed to. So we create a source within us that's destructive, robs us of our energies, lowers our vibrations. And after a while, we become just like the people that we didn't like. And so we don't attract good to us. We attract all of the negative energies that are on the same level of our thinking. And it is said, you want to change your life, change your way of thinking, change your way of feeling. Know that you are a child of God and you're divinely blessed. Nobody can do you any harm. The only harm that can be done to you is that which we create within ourselves. And we don't have to accept the opinions of other people about us. Every man, woman, and child is entitled to their own opinion. But we don't have to take it into our consciousness. We don't have to allow it to become a part of us. Our purpose and our mission as children of light, children of the Spirit, first and foremost is to love God with all our heart, mind, and soul. That's our first responsibility. That's the first commandment given to us. That's what we have to do, first and foremost. And then we have to love our neighbors. That's the tough part. Because we meet people, we just don't like them for some reason. They looked at us wrong. They said some bad things about us. They don't know anything about us. They just said some stuff about us. And we got to retaliate. You don't have to, as the old folks said, leave it to God. God will take care of it. It's not yours. And as Jesus said, judge no man. Because when you judge another, you are also judging yourself. Are we better than those that we are judging? I don't think so. We might think it, we might feel it, but is it so? So I said to you this morning, brothers and sisters, of the way, and the way is the path of righteousness or rightfulness, the path of truth, the path of light, the path of understanding. As Jesus said, know that ye are gods. Now that's with a small g. But as you've heard me say many times, and the truth is, we can never be separated from the source. All that God is, we are, and all that we are, God is. And if you know and understand and have accepted into your consciousness that your first love is God, and with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, it is where you place your emphasis. God first. And if you live, move, and have your being in this consciousness of knowing that God is number one in your life, then you can open wide your eyes and recognize that the Spirit of God, the consciousness of God, the life of God is in and through every manifested form upon this physical plane of existence. And you must know that which you love can never hurt you, can never do you any harm. Because you're looking beyond the physical appearances of things and recognizing the divinity, the God spark that is within that physical form. And so when you look, recognize, and accept that God spark, that divinity within the outer forms, it has to respond back to you. And therefore, you bring about change within the individual. You bring about change in the consciousness. And so this is why we have come as angels of light to bring light unto those unenlightened brothers and sisters upon this physical plane of existence. The great commandment, never forget it. Number one, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, body, mind, and soul. Namaste.